It's been a while since I've provided a channel update, one that doesn't just serve as a one-off review or an impulsive tag video. This one's going to be a bit of a hybrid, I suppose. A reading vlog, sure, but also a kind of long-form check-in. A rambling meditation on reading as a habit and a refuge, and as it turns out, a constant, even when spare time is not so constant. So back in December, I started teaching at a new school. And when I say started teaching, what I really mean is I threw myself headlong into the task of educating a group of awesome fifth graders who, God bless them, always had more questions than I ever had answers. I mean, I knew it would be hard work, but I didn't know it was going to be so all-consuming in that uniquely exhausting but also quietly satisfying way. I've been pouring so much of myself into teaching these kids that my energy for making videos, let alone editing them or even engaging with the videos of my friends, has been more or less sapped. Still, I have been reading, not as fast as I used to, maybe, but with more intention. This year, I made a deliberate choice to slow down and take on some bigger books and series. Books that don't lend themselves to that dopamine rush of finishing quickly so I can see my Goodreads numbers go up. But summer break is just around the corner, and I am hopeful, I'm planning even, that I will find a rhythm, a way to give as much of myself as my students deserve while also showing up here on BookTube more regularly. So this is what I've been reading this week. Let's get the elephantine tome out of the way first. This week I finally finished Oathbringer, the third installment in Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight archive. And it's a lot in terms of literal page count, but also in terms of character arcs and massive lore info dumps and high-octane battle sequences and philosophically ambitious monologues that sometimes work quite well and sometimes fall horribly flat. I started the series back in January with a friend from church. She had read Tress and the Emerald Sea, I believe, and she wanted to see what the cornerstone of Sanderson's catalog was all about. I figured it would be a fun project, and it has been, mostly. The first book, The Way of Kings, had a promising, if slightly overlong opening, but holy cow, what a climax. The next book, Words of Radiance, though, now, that one slapped, as the kids say. It hit the ground running and just never lets up, which is impressive considering it's roughly the length of the phone book. But Oathbringer, look, I still liked it. Quite a bit, actually. Sanderson is many things, but he is certainly not boring. But still, there were definitely lulls, interludes that felt like they were inserted not because they were necessary or added a whole lot, but because he had the real estate for them. Much of it has this very CW vibe, and I don't necessarily mean that pejoratively. I mean, I loved the early seasons of Supernatural, but it's got a certain tone to it, right? It's melodramatic, slightly overwrought, morally upright, and kind of preachy, just barely avoiding the YA label somehow. And that's definitely one of the many reasons why I don't feel like I have a whole lot to add to the Sanderson discourse here. I mean, the man has an entire assembly line of fans making videos and breakdowns and tier lists, and I'm just sometimes loving it, sometimes annoyed by it, ultimately and on average enjoying it. I will definitely keep going with the series, but I don't think I'll be counting myself among the Brando Sando fanboys anytime soon. And now from the epic to the comic. This week I finished Mort, the fourth Discworld novel and the first death-centric novel in the series. I'm reading through the series in publication order because my brother gifted me the complete collection for my birthday a few years ago, and I promised myself I would finally get around to reading the first 10 books this year. So far, the ride has been wild. The first book, The Color of Magic, blew me away. Pratchett's humor is all over every page. The characters are inventive and endearing, and the plot just moves along at a clip that never lets up. And there are definitely a few curveballs that he throws at you that just boggle the mind. The second book, The Light Fantastic, was a fine sequel, though a bit flatter than its predecessor. Equal Rights, the third book, changed everything, though. It follows a young girl named Escarina as she tries to become the first female wizard in a very boys' club magic system, and it just worked for me. It was sharp and funny and subversive. By a mile, my favorite so far. And then came Mort. A young man gets apprenticed to Death himself. Death, in turn, decides he wants to explore the world of the living. The premise is already brilliant, but what really worked for me is how Pratchett, beneath all the puns and the satire and the absurdity, manages to hit emotional notes that just feel earned. Death is funny, yeah, but he's also sad and curious and just almost human. If I had to rank the Discworld books I've read so far, it'd be in ascending order: The Light Fantastic, Mort, The Color of Magic, and Equal Rights. But honestly, I loved them all. And I'm looking forward to Sorcery, which apparently returns to Rincewind the Wizard and his magical misadventures. I am legitimately hooked. I understand the hype. A few weeks ago, my personal trainer recommended I read Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss, and I have been picking away at it slowly but surely ever since. I just passed the 100-page mark. The book is essentially an expose on how the processed food industry engineered our cravings and hijacked our biology and redefined what we even think of as food. This hits close to home. I'm currently about 40 pounds down, and food, my relationship with it, my abuse of it, my secret negotiations with it in moments of stress or celebration or self-loathing. It's been one of the most enduring and fraught dynamics of my adult life, especially since my metabolism basically gave up on me in my early 30s. Moss writes with a sort of controlled fury. He lets the quotes speak for themselves, but the picture they paint is damning. It's not just about willpower or calories in, calories out. It's about systems. It's about addictions by design. And once you know about it, you can't unring that bell. I just finished a chapter where Moss talks about bliss points, which are these engineered zones of maximum palatability. Companies pay scientists to identify the precise amount of sugar or salt or fat that will light up our brains without ever crossing over into the territory of that's too much. It's really making me reevaluate all of my impulses when it comes to food. I will definitely keep reading and keep reporting back. I'm hoping to hit the halfway point this upcoming week. Okay, so this one is a joy. Last year, I read all the Murderbot Diaries novellas, and like many, I fell in love with the voice. Sardonic, anxious, in love with soap operas, and repulsed by human emotion. Murderbot is basically the introvert's introvert. Network Effect is the first full-length novel, and I'd heard Murderbot was better in smaller doses, so I'll admit I had some doubts going in. Would the voice wear thin over 350 plus pages? Would the pacing drag? Nope, not for me anyway. I'm 145 pages in, and I love it. There's an unexpected return of a character we haven't seen in a while, and I won't spoil who, but their presence adds depth and history and a kind of ache to the narrative that surprised me. The plot moves briskly, but the real joy is still the interiority. Murderbot remains one of the most believable synthetic beings I've ever read. Not because it's realistic necessarily, but because it's emotionally plausible. People warned me the novellas are the better format. Maybe, but so far, this one's working every bit as well. I plan on finishing it this upcoming week. And finally, we end with the beginning of something great. I'm about 60 pages into The Crow Road by Iain Banks, and I am already smitten. Banks, to me, is an author who writes in a way that just feels unreasonably good. It's the kind of writing that makes me simultaneously want to read faster and hope it somehow never ends. And as an aspiring author myself, he's the sort of master craftsman that makes me look inward and ask myself, if I can't be this good, then what's the point? This particular novel is a family drama set in Scotland. It opens with the immortal line, "It was the day my grandmother exploded." And from there, it becomes this layered meditation on memory and family and secrets and the nature of truth and death. And I'm only 60 pages in. I can already feel that signature Banksian blend of the tragic and the absurd, the humor and the darkness, the bitterly cruel and the tenderly honest. I don't know exactly where it's all going, but I trust Banks completely. This is one of his longer novels, so I'm hoping to hit the halfway point this upcoming week. I'll keep you posted. So that's it for this week. A glimpse into my brain, which, when not preoccupied with grading science quizzes or diffusing childish arguments, still turns quietly and hungrily toward books. As summer nears, I'm hoping to reestablish some sort of rhythm. I'm going to try to post at least once a week throughout the summer, these vlogs, hopefully more than once a week sometimes. I mean, I do miss this space. I miss this conversation. I miss this strange intimacy we create when we talk about books, and not just what happens in them, but what happens to us because of them. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. And if you've read any of these books or plan to, I'd love to hear from you down below. Over here are some videos you might like. Why not give them a shot? Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. Come here. Come here. Yeah. Papa. Come here. Oh, come here. Come here. Yeah. That's my boy. That's my boy. You my boy? You good boy? Oh. Say hi.